Hello everyone, welcome back to iRead'em. As usual, we have another episode of ProRevenge today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos. This will also really help my channel out. Thanks.
Manager bullies me for several months until I finally quit. I made sure to get him fired. Under review. Obligatory English is not my native language. Apologies for my mistakes in grammar. This happened around 2016. I'd, at the time 25/26M, been without a job for a while, looking for a better paying job than I had before, and I found one at a camera security company that was looking to hire someone for the service desk. I went for an interview and got a call back later that day. If I wanted the job, it was mine. Now, my new manager was an ex-military. Specifically ex-army, not American, just pointing that out. He really didn't like having people disagree with or going against him. A thing I was very unaware of when I took the job. For 2/3 months everything was going well. The manager was cordial and seemed to really enjoy having me there. I worked my butt off every day, as the software we were working with was unknown to me. So I studied a lot and even went overseas to another country to follow a course and succeeded on my exams. However, after that period, my grandpa, who was like a second father to me, suddenly was hospitalized after a brain bleed. Aneurysm. He was found in the shower. He had collapsed after he pressed his panic button. Assisted living? Not sure how it's called in English, apologies. This all happened on a Wednesday. The family came together in the hospital several times to show support and see Grandpa. However, on Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. I was called up by my father, my grandpa's son, while I was at work, and he explained to me that Grandpa unfortunately passed away. I was in tears on the phone and in utter shock. It took me a while to calm down. I went to my manager and explained what just happened and that I'm going home to be with my family. However, that day there was an event. The company was doing a charity event, and this charity was going to be public news. They already announced the amount of people participating, and it would look bad if they were a person down. It was basically just for good PR. So he refused to let me go. I told him that by law he cannot deny me, as my contract states I can take a day for a death in the family, and that I was leaving now. This was the turning point. He went from a nice manager to a manager from hell. Suddenly everything I did was wrong. I was told he couldn't believe I was in this line of work for 6 years and be this bad at my job. He cussed me out and ridiculed me in front of my colleagues and even clients. This all continued for several months and severely began to impact my mental health. I had a talk with my parents and my fiancé, at the time still my girlfriend. I'd ask her to marry me in December 2016. And they basically told me that this was not okay, that I didn't have to take this and that I should give them my 2 weeks notice. I agreed. The following day I went to HR and explained why I was leaving the company and that I couldn't stand the idea of working even a single day more with that excuse of a human being. HR showed interest in my well-being and even more importantly in what I was claiming about my manager. They had received more complaints about him, but nobody had proof of his wrongdoings. So, they asked me if I had proof. I told them I'd be looking for a new job, but I'd gladly fit in the time to collect all I could. For the next 2 weeks I collected everything. Memos, emails, voice recordings. When on the phone the calls are automatically recorded, and the dumbass was stupid enough to cuss me out while I was on the phone. Lucky me. Also lucky was that my colleagues at the desk had my back this entire time. They'd been trying to cheer me up, said I was doing fine work, and that they also didn't understand this man's behavior. So, when I came by and asked if they'd mind signing a document that everything I stated in the paperwork was the truth, they gladly did. I had one last talk with HR and him at the same time the last day I was there. Before he even walked in, I told the HR person who was mediating, he's going to walk in, say what he wants to say, and I'll be quiet and listen. When he's done, I'll explain my side and he's going to erupt me, tell you I'm lying and talk about completely non-related subject matter to drag the conversation another direction. She looked surprised at my comment, but had no time to respond as Mr. Army Man walked in and began his spiel. Exactly as I stated, he'd blurred his side out, and once I tried to talk he'd consistently interrupt me and tried to pick fights. Eventually I got up, told HR I told you so. Here's the documents you've been asking for. I placed a filled folder with several dozens of emails, plenty of memos and a USB containing 3 phone conversations and even video footage of him yelling at me. In both voice and video recordings you could easily hear him cuss me out. I gave the manager a big bright smile, who was smirking viciously, and said to him, I don't think you'll be smirking like that for long. Enjoy your little victory. His smirk disappeared into a confused scowl, but I slammed the door on him before he could respond and left the building feeling like a huge, and I mean humongous-sized, planet-sized amount of stress fell off my shoulders. Within a month, I was back to my old self. 2 months later I was working at a new job, and out of curiosity I checked my ex-manager's LinkedIn. Unemployed. I called one of my old colleagues to ask what exactly went down. My proof opened Pandora's box. He was being disrespectful to the female staff, insulted the older staff, and on multiple occasions was less than cordial with our external hires. None of these complaints were acted upon, because it was his word against theirs and there was no proof. However, me providing overwhelming proof of his gross behavior towards me made all other complaints now to be taken as fact. He was promptly fired less than a month after I left, and they refused to provide him with any form of reference. In a field like his, references mean a lot. So not getting one from a company you worked at for nearly a year is a huge red flag. It's now 2020, 4 years passed, and according to LinkedIn he's still not working in his field. I'll gladly admit that I felt rather wickedly satisfied, and still do whenever I happen to think about it. TLDR manager began to bully me because I went to my family after the death of my grandpa instead of staying at work, and basically forced me to quit for my own mental health. I delivered an overwhelming amount of proof of his misconduct that got him fired, which made it very difficult for him to find another job in his field. My dad had an affair with his BFF's wife. So, my dad had an affair with his BFF's wife, let's call her Jane. She claimed she was pretty much in love with my father, and of course her husband didn't know. I found out because once I got a Facebook Messenger message from a fake account telling me that my father was banging his BFF's wife. I actually didn't care. My parents are divorced since 2005. The problem was that someone unknown was sending my mother text messages, telling her to leave my father alone, and many offensive things. We let it slide for a while, but then those anonymous text messages became a daily thing. We confronted my dad and he confessed that he was sleeping with Jane, but he said she was not the one sending the messages. He said he was sure because Jane's husband was also getting those messages. My dad was practically blinded by her manipulations, and my mom and I had a really strong hunch that it was her. My dad got so mad after we suggested it that he stopped speaking to me and my mom for a while. I also got mad, but much more offended because he would not believe me. I mean, I had no reason to lie to him. Still, I let all that slide. But then, I got another anonymous message offending me, telling me I was just like my mother and that's why my boyfriend had dumped me, and that we would be alone for the rest of our lives, and things like that. Then I got really mad. I went to the cyber police, is a thing where I'm from, and they tracked the source of the anonymous messages. It turns out that it was her, and she was also sending her husband messages because she was so desperate for the truth to come out so she could be with my father, although I think that just confronting her husband would have been better. What she really wanted was to distance my father from me and my mom. She was messing with my family, so I decided to mess with hers, and sent the proof to her husband and her sons that she was behind the anonymous messages, and that she was, in fact, sleeping with my dad. I also showed my dad the proof and exposed her on Facebook. She was a saleswoman, so it did affect her. Her sons and her husband were so mad at her, she had to move out of her house, and my dad broke up with her as well. She was left alone, but I feel like that's what she deserved.
Thank you everyone for watching to the end of today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please like, comment, subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos. Thanks. I also have lots of other ProRevenge videos on my channel, some of which should be on the screen right now, so please consider checking them out. Thanks and bye.